Darkness falls, shadows lengthen, fear takes hold. You've gathered tonight for stories, tales whispered in the dead of night, stories that chill you to the bone. Welcome to the Nightmare Gallery. Tonight we delve into the unknown. We explore the darkness that lurks within the human psyche. We confront the things that go bump in the night. Are you brave enough to face your fears? I've received countless stories from you, the viewers, tales of terror that have haunted you for years. Tonight we share these nightmares. We give voice to the shadows. We invite the darkness in. Get ready. The journey begins now.
Our first story comes from Sarah in Ohio. Sarah writes, I was home alone one night, and I kept hearing whispers coming from my closet. It sounded like someone was saying my name over and over again. Just thinking about it sends shivers down my spine. The feeling of being watched, the unseen presence whispering your name in the dark. It's enough to drive anyone mad. Sarah continues, I finally worked up the courage to open the closet door, but there was nothing there. The whispering stopped, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching me. That's the thing about the paranormal. It often leaves you with more questions than answers. The fear lingers long after the experience is over.
Many of us have childhood fears that still haunt us today. Our next story comes from Michael, who remembers a terrifying experience with his first television. I was just a kid, maybe 5 years old, Michael writes. My parents had just bought our first color TV, a big, bulky thing. Late one night, I woke up and saw it on, but it wasn't a show playing. It was just static. That static alone is unsettling. The random noise, the flickering light. It feels like something is trying to break through. Then Michael continues, a face appeared in the static, pale with dark eyes. It stared right at me. I hid under the covers, terrified, but I could still feel its gaze burning into me. That image burned into his memory. It's a reminder that some things can't be unseen.
Cemeteries, shrouded in mist and silence, have always been a source of fascination and fear. They are places where the veil between the living and the dead feels thin, where every shadow seems to hold a secret. Our next story takes us to one such place, where Emily encountered something she can't explain. It was an experience that left her questioning the nature of reality itself. I was visiting my grandmother's grave, Emily writes. It was a routine visit, something I had done countless times before. It was a foggy evening, and the air was thick with dread, the kind of fog that seems to swallow sound and light, leaving you in an eerie silence. As I turned to leave, I saw a figure standing at the edge of the fog. It was barely visible, a shadow among shadows. That image alone is chilling. The figure seemed to blend with the mist, almost as if it were part of it. The fog, the isolation, the unknown figure watching from the shadows. It felt like a scene from a nightmare. It was tall and thin, Emily continues, with long, sharp fingers. Fingers that seemed to stretch unnaturally, adding to the surreal horror of the moment. It didn't move, just stood there watching me. Its presence was both menacing and mesmerizing. I ran back to my car, my heart pounding in my chest. Every step felt like an eternity, the distance to my car stretching endlessly. I could feel its eyes on me the entire way. The sensation of being watched was almost tangible, like a weight pressing down on me. That feeling of being followed, hunted by something unseen. It was as if the fog itself had come alive, intent on keeping me within its grasp. It's a primal fear that speaks to the deepest parts of our subconscious, a fear that lingers long after the encounter, haunting our dreams and waking moments alike.
Sleep paralysis, that terrifying state between wakefulness and sleep, is a common theme in your stories. This next one, from David, is particularly unsettling. I woke up in the middle of the night, David writes, and I couldn't move. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then I felt it. Something heavy sitting on my chest. That feeling of helplessness, the weight on your chest, unable to breathe, unable to move. It's a living nightmare. I couldn't see it, David continues, but I could feel its hot breath on my face. It whispered in my ear, its voice raspy and cold. Then, as quickly as it started, it was gone. The unseen entity whispering its dark secrets into the ears of the helpless. It's enough to make you fear sleep itself.
Abandoned places hold a certain allure, a sense of mystery and danger. They beckon to the curious and the brave, promising secrets hidden in the shadows. Our next story comes from a group of friends who decided to explore an abandoned asylum, a place with a dark and troubled past. This asylum, once a place of healing, had turned into a house of horrors over the years. We had heard stories about the asylum, writes Jason, about the patients who died within its walls, their tortured souls still lingering. The very air seemed thick with their pain and suffering, a palpable reminder of the past. We went in looking for a thrill, but we found something far more sinister. The deeper we ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, as if the walls themselves were closing in on us. Those decaying walls, holding the memories of suffering and despair, seemed to whisper their own stories. Each crack and crevice told a tale of anguish and lost hope. It's no wonder these places are breeding grounds for paranormal activity. The energy left behind by those who suffered here seems to attract the unexplainable. We heard voices whispering our names, Jason continues. It was as if the very spirits of the asylum were aware of our presence, calling out to us from the beyond. Doors slammed shut on their own, echoing through the empty halls. Each slam sent shivers down our spines, a stark reminder that we were not alone. And then, we saw it. A shadowy figure, barely visible in the dim light, standing at the end of a hallway. A shadowy figure, lurking at the end of a hallway. Its presence both menacing and sorrowful. It felt like it was watching us, waiting for us to make a move. We ran, terrified, and never looked back. The fear was overwhelming, driving us to escape as quickly as possible. The line between curiosity and terror is often blurred. What starts as an adventure can quickly turn into a nightmare. Sometimes it's best to leave the unknown undisturbed. Some mysteries are better left unsolved, their secrets remaining hidden in the shadows.
Technology can be a conduit for terror, as this next story from Maria illustrates. It's a chilling reminder that some calls are best left unanswered. My phone rang at 3 a.m., Maria writes. It was a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, all I heard was static and a faint voice whispering my name. That feeling of dread when you see an unknown number calling in the dead of night. What could they possibly want at this hour? I hung up, Maria continues, but the phone rang again and again. Each time the voice got louder, angrier. I finally turned off my phone, but I couldn't shake the feeling that whoever was calling knew where I lived. That sense of violation, the feeling that you're no longer safe, even in your own home. It's a fear that stays with you long after the call ends.
Mirrors, portals to another realm, have long been associated with the supernatural. They are often seen as gateways to the unknown, reflecting not just our physical appearance, but also the hidden fears and secrets that lie within us. Our next story from Sarah explores the terrifying possibilities that lie beyond the looking glass. It delves into the unsettling experiences that can occur when the boundary between our world and the other side becomes blurred. I was brushing my teeth before bed, Sarah writes, when I noticed something strange in the mirror. It was a moment that seemed ordinary at first, but quickly turned into a nightmare. It was my reflection, but different. The face staring back at me was mine, yet it felt foreign, as if it belonged to someone or something else. Its eyes were completely black, and it had a sinister grin on its face. The expression was one of pure malice, something no human should ever possess. That moment when you realize you're not alone in the room, that something else is watching you from the other side of the glass. It's a feeling that sends chills down your spine and makes your heart race. I turned around, Sarah continues, but there was nothing there. The room was empty, yet the sense of being watched persisted, as if the presence was hiding just out of sight. When I looked back in the mirror, my reflection was back to normal. The sinister grin and black eyes were gone, replaced by my familiar face. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was trying to cross over. The experience left me questioning the reality of what I had seen. The fear that something sinister is lurking just beyond our perception, waiting for the right moment to break through. It's a fear that stays with you, making you wonder if the next time you look in the mirror, you might not be alone.
Objects can hold energy, memories, even malevolence. Our final story tonight comes from James, who inherited a music box with a dark secret. My grandmother left me a beautiful antique music box, James writes. It played the most haunting melody I had ever heard. But whenever it played, strange things would happen. The juxtaposition of the beautiful and the unsettling. A haunting melody that seems to carry with it a sense of dread. Objects would move on their own, James continues. I would hear whispers in the hallway. And one night, I woke up to the sound of the music box playing, even though I knew I had closed it tightly. The feeling that you've invited something evil into your home, something that can't be controlled.
These stories, your stories, are the lifeblood of the Nightmare Gallery. They remind us that we are not alone in the darkness, that the unknown is all around us, waiting to be discovered. Have you had a paranormal experience? A terrifying encounter that still haunts your dreams? Share your story with me. Your nightmares could be featured on the next episode of the Nightmare Gallery, because in this realm, fear is the only currency that matters. The night is young, and the shadows are long, but our journey into the darkness has just begun. Join me next time as we delve even deeper into the abyss. Until then, sleep tight if you dare.